the godfather of the NBCT boot camp. So if you'll introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Boyd Rogan. I was a professor at UAB for a long time and director of a regional in-service center. And now I get to work with Dr. Shields on the National Board Scholarship Program. And it's a wonderful program. We're very excited to be able to offer this to teachers, educators throughout the state because Alabama is a leader in national board teachers, and we plan on staying that way. So we're glad you're here, and we hope that we can answer all of your questions today.
So Dr. Rogan and I have been partners in crime, as they say, in this work for many years, even before we had a boot camp. I think the boot camp was inspired by us just having a heart to figure out how we could support teachers who are interested to give them, because right now is the best time to get onboarded because school starts in a month and you're able to like hit the ground running as opposed to trying to learn everything when school has started. So this is just like priming the pump for you. But you'll see Dr. Rogan and I, as we kind of go through some ins and outs, we do not have a script. We just naturally know where to ebb and flow. So I'm going to share my screen and I'll put the link in the chat in just a moment as well. Let me do that first thing.
Okay.
So Valerie, there is the link that we are going to be, we do not have a slide deck because we're just really kind of talking through it. Let me make your faces a little bigger on my other screen. Since we have a small group, I think I can see everybody. So if you want to go with me to this link, or you can just kind of watch as I'm sharing my screen, this has everything that you should need. Now, the beautiful thing is you're talking to someone who actually applied for the scholarship. And so I've been through this process myself as a young teacher. I think I got the scholarship the second year that the scholarship application or the scholarship process was open. Back then, they called it a grant. And now we have kind of changed the language to scholarship. But I applied for this in the spring, just like you did. At least I found out in the spring, just like you did, that I got the scholarship. And so then I had that whole summer to stress over it. There was no boot camp. Back then, just, you know how people like to tell stories and like I walked 3 miles in the snow and all of that. But in the old days, there was no like website. You couldn't pull up the instructions. You had to wait until October until a box arrived at your house with instructions. So there, you just waited. For those of you who have pets, by the time I got to my box, my basset hound had already found it on my front porch and practically destroyed it. And you do have to return your stuff back in the original box. So I thought this is just not good. This is not good. So I actually did duct tape the box back together and somehow I still certified. So see, so I'm going to go through the scholarship application with you. Dr. Rogan and I have done this particular presentation many times. And I hope, Dr. Rogan, you know, if I say something that needs updating or correcting, please do what we do.
Jump right.
Go ahead.
I said I would jump right in.
I need you to do that. Now you will see on this screen, I'm going to make it a little smaller because I was making it too big for you, it looks like. The application is closed now because we just awarded the scholarship recipients in May. And so we have some brand new folks. Gosh, how many did we have this year, Dr. Rogan? You're always better about the numbers
Well,
than I am.
about 650
Yeah, the biggest number we've ever had apply.
by far.
Uh, by far. Yes, I don't know if we'll ever beat that. And then how many did we have actually receive the scholarship?
271.
I told you he's good. So yeah, it was pretty good odds. So what you'll need to know, and I'm going to go through it with you, is everything that you need is on this page. Even if you're like, you got some questions, which I can go through some of those in a bit. This webinar we're doing right now will be replaced. So we did this last July at the last boot camp. We will replace this session with that link. So if you are doing the scholarship application next year and you forgot, 45% of what I've said, which is normal, you'll be able to go back and check this webinar. There are some things that you can listen to about the process. Now, I just got this wonderful email, and you may be in the room. Let me see and look through my names here. I just got an email over lunch, and it was it was actually, no, it was from a scholarship recipient. So it was not one of you. And she said, "Oh my gosh, I'm so overwhelmed. I have so many questions, and they've not gotten answered yet. And this is hard." And I just responded to her and like, welcome to National Board. National Board process, y'all, is hard. The reason only 4% of America's teachers are certified is because this is a rigorous process. The reason you get $5,000 a year for the life of your certificate is because this ain't easy. Some of you get an additional $5,000 if you teach in a school that's eligible and you have an eligible certificate. But I always say, do I not, Dr. Rogan? If I can do this as a young mama working 30 minutes away from my school with zero preparation, and back then the portfolio was 6 entries long, you had 6 components, and then you had to take 4 90-minute tests on top of that. Not to make you feel sorry for us old folks, but it was a very different process with very little support. You have that. So if I promise you, if I can do that and so many others, I say to every single person, if you have a will to become a nationally board certified teacher, you can and you will do it. It's just about perseverance. So if you feel overwhelmed, that's what this boot camp is for. Do not feel overwhelmed. This is very doable, and the scholarship is a great practice for the real thing. So, Dr. Rogan, you think it's probably a good idea? I'll just kind of go through the actual application
Sure.
and then we can just kind of talk through it.
Yeah.
So I made screenshots for you because I'm kind of a person like before I fill out an actual form, particularly something that is like, really important. I want to print it out and write everything somewhere else, like in a Word document or something, before I actually put it in the application. And knowing that, we just put it on a spreadsheet for you so you could just print this out. So every year, usually right after Christmas, somewhere in early to mid-January, the scholarship application is released. But the beautiful thing is the scholarship application pretty much stays the same year to year. So the language will be the same, just the dates change. So be looking for that in January. And then by May, well, I think they're due March 31st of every year. And then somewhere in May, after a whole lot of reading, we're able to award scholarship recipients. And then they hopefully come to boot camp and begin the process. Now, have any of you submitted a component yet? Have any of you started maybe one? Okay. A new thing for the scholarship is if you have, it's okay. You can still apply for what's remaining. So I see most of you said no, but if you have already submitted something, you can say, well, I want y'all to pay for the rest of it. And so if you make the score, then you'll be able to do that. So the scholarship application is pretty straightforward outside of, your email. I wanted to spend some time on the meat of the scholarship application. So altogether, there is a form that you'll fill out, what's your name, what grade do you teach, what school are you, all those sorts of things. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that. But what I am going to spend time on is the stuff, the actual meat of the application, which is the narratives and that sort of thing. You will altogether submit around 6 pages in one file. And I'm going to go through those. And every year we have someone say, well, how do I put the letters of recommendation? And how do I put this in one file? And I always say you better learn fast because National Board requires you to put everything in one PDF. I think there's a technology session, Valerie, that they're doing that will actually show you how to, whether you're using Cami or some other cool tool on how to put PDFs together. But the very first thing that you will do is you're going to talk about your profile of teaching. And in this profile of teaching, you are going to talk about you. Have you already been in a session today where someone told you as you're writing for National Board to use first person to speak very conversationally? If not, let me be the first. How many of you have taken masters and EDS classes? Okay. Everything that you learned in those classes, I need you to put them on a shelf because this is not academic writing. This is reflective writing. You speak in first person. You don't say things like, I believe a teacher should. You say I. Don't talk about the teacher as another person. So when you submit this and when you submit your components for National Board, you want to do it from the lens of you. And so we made sure when we put this scholarship application together that we tried to make it as similar to an actual National Board entry so you would get some practice. If you have been in the basic training session, they have already talked about these 5 core propositions. And at this point, I'm going to make the screen bigger. So there are 5 core propositions to be an MBCT. And the first one is teachers are committed to their students and their learning. Teachers know the subjects they teach and how to teach them. Teachers are responsible for managing and monitoring student learning. Teachers think systematically about their practice and learn from experience. And teachers are members of learning community. And we actually have those broken down into more language on the scholarship sheet, which I'll share with you in just a moment. All we ask in the first part of this scholarship application is that you write a 2-page, single-spaced. This is also good practice because when you go through National Board, they're like, and your margins have to be this, your font has to be this, it has to be single-spaced, double-spaced. Write a written profile of your approach to teaching using the 5 core propositions as points of discussion. Give specific examples from your classroom practice that illustrate each proposition. Write in first person. Keep in mind that this piece of writing should capture the life and heart of your classroom. Avoid writing philosophically about pontificating the perfect classroom. Now, this is where I give you my recommendation. You got 2 pages. I don't know how many ELA teachers we have in here, but I'm going to pull on my English language arts hat. And fortunately, Dr. Rogan is also an English teacher, professor. So I feel certain he will join me in this. If I was submitting this grant, and I have read many, many, many of them, my recommendation would be to begin teachers are committed to students and their learning as my topic sentence in a paragraph. And then what are you going to do? You're going to flush it with all the stuff that you're doing. You're going to give concrete examples from your classroom, from your experience. I know the subjects I teach and I know how to teach them to students. Once again, for example, because the rubric we use is exactly aligned to these 5 core propositions. And if you just start talking about, like, I just believe teaching is wonderful and I have a heart for children and I've always wanted to be a teacher, that's awesome. And it might even bring a smile to our face, but it will not give you the score you need on the rubric.
Yeah.
Let me say this, Dr. Rogan. Oh, I can see you're about to say what I'm going to say, so I'll let you jump in there.
Well, I don't know about that, but I did want to say we can't overemphasize this part. To me, that's probably the most important sentence in this whole explanation here, using the 5 core propositions as points of discussion. We do, as Dr. Shields said, we do receive a number of applications that are well written, they are heartfelt, and they're all about how you love your kids and how much education means to you, and they never mention the core propositions. And you think their score is very good? No, it's not, because that's not what we're looking for. We're looking specifically, and the people who read these and score them are using specifically those 5 core propositions. So if you don't use that as your framework, your outline for your discussion of your profile of teaching, you got a problem. So yeah, focus on that. Practice writing. Make sure, go have somebody else read it and see if they can tell you what the 5 core propositions are when they get through reading your paper. because it's a big way to get points, and it's very
Yes.
frustrating to see people who spend a lot of time preparing their application, and yet they never talk about the core propositions. And you can go to the National Board website, nbpts.org, and they can talk about where they'll talk about more. If you're not sure yourself exactly what these means, go read about them. They
Mhm.
give you some information about them. So you should be able to recite these, understand them, explain them to somebody, and most importantly, integrate them into your own teaching style.
Yes. And I would say everything Dr. Rogan just said is also true for the national board process. If you've been in basic training or any of the other sessions, the thing about national board, I think people don't realize is the problem is not, I don't have anything to write about. The problem is I don't know how to make it concise because there's so many questions that you have to answer and you only have so many pages to do it. So normally when I support someone going through national board, it's often helping them remove language because they've gone 2 or 3 pages over. So this is also good practice for that. But even with your national board, those questions are so specific, you've got to answer them exactly. I always tell, because I'm an English teacher, reword those questions into kind of a leading statement and then provide evidence. That way, whoever is reading yours can go check, check, check to see that that happens. Um, and we did provide some links, which I'll share with you as well. So that's one document, right? So we have one document, it's 2 pages. This is also, if you're applying for a job, I've heard many of our teachers say that I submitted my 5 core propositions as part of my resume so that my principal or superintendent, whoever, would see that my work is completely aligned to the 5 core propositions of National Board. And I'm like, now, why didn't I think of that? That's genius. That's such a good idea. Document 2 is where you just tell us about your school. Like we just need to know. I teach in a Title I school. Last year we were a Blue Ribbon school. We came up 5 points on ACAP. My school has a high multilingual population. My school has been on the priority list for 5 years. My school has been a full support math school for 5 years. We need to know the great things and the other things that are challenges for your school. My school is in a neighborhood that is often considered especially dangerous or especially poor or especially hard to navigate because we have so many schools where transportation. Whatever that situation is, we need to know because that provides that context for the reader to know a little bit about your situation. So that's the second document. This one should not exceed more than 1 page. So we got 2 pages for your profile. We got 1 page for your context of your school. So we're at 3 pages so far. The other document that you will submit are 2 letters of recommendation. One of them has to be from a former or current administrator. That could be a principal, a current principal, previous principal, assistant principal, someone at the district office, just someone that is in your camp to say, this gentleman has what it takes to pursue national board and to let us know that they have that they have blessed this journey for you. And then the other letter can be anybody. Dr. Ogun, we've seen some amazing letters. My favorite are when parents send them, like a parent of one of their students sent a letter. Mm. I think we've had some from students before too,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, students. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And on the administrator, the letter from them should be on official letterhead. And on the other letter, also, one we see a lot is people get someone like, say, a preacher, and they make a character recommendation, which is wonderful that you can get that, but that's not what we're looking for. We're looking for people who can testify to your effectiveness as a teacher. So don't just get a general, oh, you're a wonderful person and you do this in the community. That, again, that's nice, but it's not what we're looking for here. So make your letters of recommendation focus on your ability as a teacher and your commitment to being a great teacher.
We have a question, Dr. Ogan. Can we submit more than two? I will say only two
Yeah,
will be reviewed.
right.
So it's usually the first two. Now we have some folks that will send three or four. You will notice there is not a page limit for this particular part because some people write really long letters and we're like, we don't want to tell you don't want to tell your principal you can only write one page. So there is not a page limit on that. If you want to submit others, like you that is up to you, but just like National Board, we will only read the first two.
It's not going to benefit you any to do three or four.
That's right. And then document four, which is the last thing that you will submit, is, and it says list. This is not a narrative. This is just, what have you not told us? I was runner up for District Teacher of the Year. I am the instructional coach. I am the grade level head. I served on the state textbook committee. I do after school programs. I'm the cheer coach. What is it that we don't know about you from what you have already shared? And that's not just school related. If you teach Sunday school, if you lead a little league, team, we just want to know more about you. And this is simply a list. So it's really easy. Like look at your resume and then also think about the things that you're doing in your community, um, you know, to serve. Those are the things we want to know. And so when these things are taken together as part of the rubric, we look to see, does this person have, a nice plethora of opportunities to pay it forward. So at this point, you see that's it. So in terms of like what you submit and with the narrative, you put all of that together. You put your list of stuff, you put your letters recommendation, you put the context of your school, and the biggest thing, the thing that counts the most, is this first document where you provide that two-page narrative of how you are aligned to the five core propositions. Do we have any first year teachers, first or second year teachers in this group? So if someone should see this later, it is perfectly okay now for a first, used to you had to have been a teacher for 3 years to pursue national board. That is no longer the case. First and second year teachers can now apply for the scholarship and go through national board. They just cannot be complete with the process until their third year. So they can take a component this year and two this year and so forth. But I have had some young teachers reach out like, I've only been teaching a year. Like, I don't have a lot of like experience to draw from. And I'm like, you're talking to the right person because I went through this with grant application as a 2, 3 year teacher myself. Think about it as what you are doing and also what you aspire to do. If you don't have a lot of classroom experience, that's the whole part of being a reflective practitioner is considering what you're doing and what you want to do. Then the actual application piece, let me just see, Dr. Rogan, if I'm going to skip all the cell phone, your school. I don't need to know
Yeah,
all that.
excuse me.
Mhm.
Could you go back up to the FAQs? I'm
I
sorry.
can. Nope. Mm-mm.
Uh,
They are right here. Hmm.
yeah, these are provided. There are how many now? 20 or 30? Uh,
It keeps growing, but yes. Uh-huh.
we have through the years we've built this list year at a
Yep.
time because
Yes.
new questions come up each year. But we also receive a lot of questions each year that are covered in the FAQs. And apparently, a lot of people just don't read these. You should read through these. They tell you a lot
Mhm.
and will save you the problem of writing in questions and so forth because you can say, hey, here's a question I wanted to ask. It's already been answered for me. So
Mhm.
please do read through your FAQs. And if you still have a question after that, please submit it because it is a living document. We do edit it each year and occasionally add new FAQs. So let us know if we need to add some more. But first of all, just go through and read them. You'll learn a lot by reading all these questions and answers.
Now that you said that, before I go back to, since I've already got it up, I'm trying to see if there's any big ones for the group that I've already said that. Is this for first year candidates? Yes. If you need to retake something, the scholarship will not cover that. It will only cover the first initial process. If any of you applied before, we get that, like, can I apply again? 1000%. Here's the thing you need to know about the scholarship. We had 600 people apply, and I would say most of those applications were excellent, absolutely excellent. However, this is a competitive process. There's only so much money. So I've heard people say, well, if I can get a scholarship, I guess I don't need to go through national board. That is absolutely not true. I know Valerie will attest to this. I know many, many, many people who did not get scholarship who became national board certified teachers within 1 year. So national board is not competitive. This grant is somewhat competitive, depending. This year was insane with the number of folks that applied. But if you didn't get it, yes, you can absolutely apply the next year. You do not get money that goes straight to national board, so no, you're not going to get a check. If you are not sure, it costs $1,900 to go through the national board process. So that's all four components. And then there's a $75 registration fee. So this essentially is giving you roughly $2,000 to pursue that process. If someone doesn't complete all components, National Board only gives you 3 years to go through, those components. And so if you're not able to do that, National Board will not honor you continuing that process if you've not turned in all four within those 3 years. So yes, the scholarship would end after the 3-year period as required by National Board. We do get questions like, what happens if I move? Am I required to return the money? That is the expectation. That does not happen very often.
Oh, and it does not apply if you're simply moving within Alabama.
Oh,
We have
sure.
a lot
Yeah.
of people each year who say, I've changed school systems. I've moved from one district to another. Do I have to give my scholarship back? Absolutely not. As long as you're in an Alabama public school, you're using Alabama public funds, you're in good shape.
That's right. That's an important distinction. Thank you. Are you required to do all four components? This is a very personal decision that you must make. As someone, I did them all in 1 year because I was like, I got two kids, two little kids. I'm just gonna get it done. But you don't have to. You've got to look at your family dynamic, what makes the most sense. If you're working on your master's or EDS degrees, you may have said, I'm going to take one class a semester because that's all I can do. Then that is fine. The beautiful thing about National Board is you do not have to do everything in 1 year, but you can. But you can't take a gap year. You can't, like, I'm going to submit something this year and then take off next year. Once you get the scholarship, you're required to submit something the very next year, and something the next year, and something the next year, or just do it all within 1 or 2 years. I think I've already mentioned this. The only thing once you get the scholarship that you have to pay for is the registration. I will let you in on something. You have to pay that registration every year that you are a candidate. So if you do turn everything in 1 year, then you only have to pay that $75 one time. But if you do it this year, do two next year, and the next year, you'll have to pay that $75 each time. This does not cover renewal or what we call maintaining your certificate. If you do not become an MBCT, do I have to return the money? No, but we feel certain you will reach certification. Can I begin working on the process? You can work on the process right now. If you've learned anything in any of your sessions, don't wait. Who decides who the scholarship winners are? There's a group of MBCTs around the state who are amazing. Every year they're like, I want to do it again. Dr. Rogan leads that up, and it's super organized, and it's always a really exciting time to see all these applications come in. Some of this stuff.
Go back to the
Mhm.
will I be here something? Yes.
Mhm.
We let people know one way or the other in the first week of May. First full week of May has been our schedule so far. So you will be notified, and that's about you've submitted your scholarship application by March 31st, and then you'll hear the first week in May.
Yep. and we will immediately start emailing you. Here's the boot camp. Here's what you need to know. We make sure that it is not radio silence once you get the scholarship. If you do not get the scholarship, we still are like, oh, here's what you need to know. We're going to help you if you want to go ahead and start. Um, can a principal, this is a good one, can a principal, assistant principal, librarian, counselor, coach, or speech pathologist receive the scholarship? Absolutely. You do not have to be a classroom teacher in the traditional sense. You do have to work in an Alabama public school in any capacity as an instructional person. And as long as you are one of those, you can certainly apply for the scholarship. We've had a number of administrators pursue the scholarship and receive it. So there's a timeline thing, which I'm trying not to repeat stuff I know you've already heard. So here's the general timeline for National Board. You for the scholarship. So you see the application in January, you work on it, you submit it in March, you find out in May if you were awarded, then you come back to the boot camp, and then you begin working through those components. Once you find out you have the scholarship, you have the instructions. You're getting the instructions, at these different sessions. You have everything you need. So, in terms of starting, you can start immediately, but you cannot submit components, the entire country, until the spring. So, you will start in the fall and in winter working through your components, and then everybody in the country for National Board is required to submit them. I think it's sometime in May. I'll look at the calendar to double check myself, or take the assessment. So, how you do that is really up to you deciding on how and when you want to do that. If Dr. Rogan already mentioned that if you change schools positions, that is not a problem. If you go through National Board and you become an MBCT and you're teaching eighth grade English, as I was, and then you become a principal, you still get the stipend. So it's not like you lose the stipend, or maybe I start teaching science and I was certified as an English teacher. The stipend will stay with you as long as you stay in a public school serving students. So if you go to work at a university, you will lose your stipend unless they honor it. If you come work at the State Department, you will lose your stipend. So as long as you stay in an Alabama public K-12 school, the stipend will follow you. So that answers that question. Even administrators get the $5,000. They are not eligible for the extra five, which may be that if you have some questions about the stipends, I can certainly answer that. Private school teachers are not eligible for the scholarship. They may certainly pursue National Board, but they're just not eligible for the scholarship. If you're hearing all of this today and you're like, I don't know which certificate I want. Like, do any of you teach eighth grade? Do I have any eighth grade folks in the room? Eighth or ninth grade? I don't see any. I don't see hands raised. You're going to have some decisions to make about what certificate you want to pursue. And like if you teach eighth grade, you're like in the middle of two of them. Like you got to make a decision. Am I going to do early adolescence or am I going to do young adulthood? And so we can kind of help you through that, but ultimately it's your decision. When do I have to decide the order? Do you have to do the components in order? That is a no. You do the components in any order that you prefer. I put them in, I like to do component 3 first, personally. That is just me. But you could do it in this order. You could do it all in 1 year. You can do it over 2 years, but no, you do not have to do them in any kind of order. Dr. Rogan, you want to talk a little about when those funds actually come once they're scholarshiped?
Okay. The State Department will send one check to the National Board for all 270 scholarships or whatever the number is. And they will then at National Board deposit the money into individual accounts. You will have received an account number or an identification number from National Board, and that's how the money will be deposited in your account. And the money will be there toward the end of the year. We never know exactly when the State Department is going to pay it. It has to go through a process, and a lot of hands touch it. But the money will be there, and so when you get ready to register in January, you will have money available in your account. And if you don't, for some reason, you let us know. But the money will be there, and then you can start working on you. Well, you already worked on your components, but then you'll be able to actually register. So don't register until you know that money's in the account. And when you do register, you will be referring to your payment as a third party payer. The State Department is the third party payer. And so you will be indicating that you have, instead of having to write a check yourself or given a credit card, you just indicate that you have a third party payer.
That's right. Yeah. Already mentioned about first and second years. Yes, they can apply. So here's I
Yeah.
looked on National Board's website last night to see if they had the 26, 27 calendar up, and they didn't. But I wanted you to see, because I saw someone asked a great question. Mindy, I said the same thing when I got the scholarship. I'm like, wait a minute. So I get the scholarship in the spring of this year. So I can't even um, submit anything to the following spring. Okay, so there's that. So if you've, let's go back to, like, I've not even done the scholarship yet. So you would submit the scholarship in, January, February, March, and then you would find out prayerfully that you received the scholarship, and then you would be able to begin that process for the following year. Now, if Mindy and others, if you have just been completely inspired by what's going to happen over these next 3 days, and you're like, I don't want to wait, I want to go ahead and do one component, which a lot of people do that. You can go ahead and do one component, like just get one done. I think they're $450. I will double check that, and then apply for the scholarship to pay for the remaining. You can certainly do that as well. So if there's one of the entries that you want to go ahead and do just to get it done. I did have someone say once, gosh, that's so expensive. And I'm like, have you taken a college class? Do you know how much a college course is? $1,200, or they've probably gone up, Dr. Rogan. You would know better than I have. And I should know since I've had two kids in college forever. Um, but I mean, that's a decision that you'll have to make. In the end, it's definitely going to pay dividends because you'll be getting an extra $5,000 for the life of that certificate. But that is a decision you can make. Um, I told you everything is due like in March, and then you don't find out until the next December. So almost National Board is like a 3-year process in many ways. Like you apply for the scholarship this year, you spend the whole next year completing your components and doing those sorts of things. And then if you submit everything, you find out in December if you certified. So it is a process. So that's why if you're feeling like, oh my gosh, I got all this stuff to do, just breathe. You've got time, and we will certainly help you kind of go through that. I want to go back, Dr. Rogan, I'm going to go back to our actual application because as you were talking, it made me think of a few things.
Dr.
One of the things,
Shields, one of the questions we got is, are there a certain number of attempts for Comp 1 or the assessment?
Um, that is a great question. So you can take Comp 1 for those of you just learning, that is the assessment, the test piece. And there are multiple pieces. I think there's 4 parts of component 1. And so you can choose to take, I did really great on these 3 parts, but I need to take the multiple choice because there's one of them that's like a multiple choice type test. I will need to take that one again. In terms of number of attempts, I have never seen anything about the number as long as, I mean, because you'll have to pay for each attempt. I would say if this is a component 1 question, you don't have to pay the full 450 if you're just taking one of those assessments. Does that make sense? Instead of taking all 4 of them, I can take the one that I scored the lowest on. Did I answer that question, Valerie, or whoever asked? Was there any probing questions about that?
I think that was it.
Okay. I'm not aware of any, as long as you're able to complete everything, submit everything within 3 years and do your retakes within 5 years. So National Board will give you an extra 2 years after you've submitted all 4 for retakes. Now, after 5 years, they'll say you got to start over. If you teach, this is the law, this is not a Melissa Shields or Boyd Rogan thing. The law is very clear that weighted points, kind of like bonus points, if you will, are given to those who teach in a Title I school, that are on what is called the priority school list, which we always provide the link to that. If you have 5 or fewer MBCTs in your school, if you are a comprehensive support school. So if you are one of those, you click the ones, and that does kind of put a like a weighted um, score on your overall score, so that we know that we're ensuring that we're prioritizing those. So that's important to know as well. And you're like, I don't know if my school's a Title One. We provided links to all that for you. I don't know that I would have known all of that. So we're able to give you that list. Our scores have that list, so they can just confirm that that is indeed the case. And so I wanted to make sure you were aware of that. And I love that. If I could just be completely transparent, when the scholarships first started, in 1998, so I was going through this in 99. Uh, there were just pockets of the state where lots of the folks were getting scholarships. And it was probably because they had like friends who were helping friends, and they had little cohorts. But I'm from a very rural, high poverty area. That was not the case where I lived. And it may not be the case where you live. And so I really appreciate the legislature saying we want to make sure that teachers across the state have an opportunity to pursue national board. We need to know who your in-service center director is, because as soon as you get the scholarship, Miss Curtis will tell you, we're like, here's your 32 people. And I love how the in-service centers brag on their scholarship recipients, and they put it all over Facebook and tagging them. And then instantly you have a support system. Anything, Valerie, you want to add about that?
Um, we definitely have a support system all across the state, no matter where you are. And if you're interested in finding our exact support schedule that we host throughout the year, you can find those in the program, in our official boot camp program.
Thank you. Oh, that's really blurry, but these are, like I said, this is a screenshot of the actual application. But we need to know what your certification is, so that we can start thinking of how we can connect you with different mentors. Now, here's where you have to sign off like, yes, I do have a bachelor or higher degree. I do teach full time. You cannot be teaching part time and get the scholarship. I do promise the best I can to teach 3 years in an Alabama K-12 school. I understand that I've got to complete all 4 components within 3 years, and at least one component has to be submitted the next year. And that, of course, you're responsible for the registration fees for each year of your candidacy. And then the very last thing is you upload that one PDF with all of those things that we shared at the beginning. I would ask you to consider, as you are doing your teaching profile, think of the things that you do in your classroom that give you the most joy, that touch multiple students with different interests, different abilities. Think of those activities that you do that give children opportunities for inquiry, and kind of thinking about the things you do to connect with other teachers. I do find, and Dr. Rowan kind of touched on that before, when folks turn in their profiles, sometimes you can tell like they're trying to impress you, and it comes across as inauthentic. Just tell your story. Just tell your story. And I promise you, there is no. We say that all the time. Just the academic language that we're so familiar with as teachers and students. This is not that. Now I'm going to go back to our original page. To the very beginning. I'm sorry. I hate when people scroll and I'm in a meeting. I wanted you to say a couple things before I moved on. So Valerie mentioned the website that we have. So I want you to see this has all the information that you need here, but let me go back. So this is our Office of Student Learning website, and I'm going to click on National Board. And I want you to see what you have access to. You have access to a list of everybody that has gotten the scholarship in 25. I actually need to put the 26 ones on there now that I'm sitting here looking at it. Um, this is where you'll see, like, I want to know, am I eligible for the extra $5,000? We get a lot of questions about that. Like, as you're picking out what certification you want to do for the scholarship and to pursue National Board, I get questions all the time. Dr. Shields, is my school on the list? You know what I'm going to send you? I'm going to send you that memo because there's lots of lists. So I'm going to send you that memo. I'm like, here you go. So you can find it and see if your school is on that. There's, I think, 3 or 4 lists now. So I wanted you to know that was on there. If you're wondering, no one's asked yet, but they always ask about this point, what what certificates are eligible for the extra 5,000. So everybody gets the base 5,000, and to get the additional what's called targeted stipend, it's for a number of schools, those that are um, uh, you know the priority school list. I know graduation, we have a list for the graduation rate. We have a list of the schools that provide free lunch and so forth. But it's more than just, do I teach at that school? You have to teach in one of these areas as of right now, unless they add more, which could happen because they keep adding, which is good. Career tech, special education, ESL, English language arts and literacy, science, and math. Did I skip any of them? Did I say career tech? I can't remember if I said career tech. If I didn't, career tech. So if you're one of those certificates, then you would be eligible for the extra 5,000 if you teach in an eligible school. If you want more information, you will click on that memo and it will take you right there. And then all of the, oh, went back too far. All of the information around the scholarship, you will be able to see all of that information here. All of this will be updated with the new scholarship information very soon. Let me go back to this. And with that, I'm going to stop for just a minute because I have talked and talked, and I want to make sure Dr. Rogan helps me fill in any gaps. But I also want to just take a moment to give you an opportunity, like what is it you need to know before pursuing the scholarship or certification itself?
Are there questions from the group? I think we've covered things pretty thoroughly. Hopefully we have. But certainly if you've got questions, it's a great time to ask them.
I'm going through my list here as well.
Seems like
Y'all quit sharing so I can see them a little better. Thank you, Harriet. All right. Well, Dr. Rogan, I guess we'll give
got a
them some
great
of the.
job, or you've stunned them into silence.
That's
One or the other.
exactly what it is. I know what it is. This is the first day of boot camp, and their brains are like, what? It's okay. And be thankful. I mean, I cannot tell you, I would have paid to go to something like this as a first year candidate. Just yes, blow my mind, but at least give me perspective. So when I went through it, when I say I overanalyzed, I probably triple time worked that portfolio because I was so worried I wasn't doing it right, and I was second guessing myself all the time. So you are not in that space, but it does seem overwhelming. But once you get started, Dr. Rogan, we always tell folks, just start. Like that's what you do. You don't think about it, you don't talk about it. You're just like, all right, here we go. You just start putting pen to paper, metaphorically, and you'll be shocked in a couple hours, like, oh my gosh, I've done a lot. I tell folks that all the time. Just start. And then you can wordsmith. You've got, tools now that I'm so jealous of that, oh my gosh, what I would have done with a friend called Chat GPT and, which don't Chat GPT any of this, but to be able to say, help me wordsmith this, to be able to have that would have been such a gift. Um, okay, so Christian,
After this is over, after the boot camp is over, if you have questions about the scholarship, you can write me, Boyd Rogan 21 at gmail.com, and I'll be glad to respond to you. So after you've gone home from boot camp or signed off, and you still have questions anytime during the year, please write me, and I'll be glad to answer you.
yes, he he's wonderful. You just have no idea the presence of this man, how his heart. Someone asked a great question. It was a PE question. So if I teach PE and did a certification in literacy, would I be eligible for the $5,000 stipend? So that's kind of a multi-tiered question. So, Christian, would you have access to students to pursue literacy? Like, would you be able to complete the whole portfolio in literacy if you're teaching PE full time? Because that would be really hard. It has been done. It is not impossible, but I want to let you know, like, that would be hard just because you got a full time other job. If whatever the answer is, if you are able to get your certification in literacy as an MBCT and you're in one of those eligible schools, then that would be your district office will sign off to validate, yes, Christian is a literacy MBCT teaching full time in the classroom. The only way that you would not be eligible for that stipend, which, we get a lot of questions about this. If you are a coach, if you are a reading coach, if you are an instructional coach, you are not eligible for that stipend because you do not serve children. You serve adults. So the law was very clear because the law was written to recruit and retain teachers in these needed classrooms. So while it's wonderful when folks go into administration or instructional roles, the intent of the law was to keep the most accomplished teachers in those classrooms. So whether you agree with it or not, I wanted to be really clear on that.
Let me give my email one more time. It's Boyd Rogan, BoydRogan, and the number's 21, Boyd Rogan 21 at gmail.com.
Okay, so Christian says, so Christian, that changes things. So Christian is saying he may teach, I currently teach, I'm sorry, science and social studies, but would like to transition. So we have had a number of folks pursue literacy or English language arts they actually teach social studies, but they were embedding those standards for ELA in their social studies classroom. I'm not sure if anyone in science has done it, but maybe. But as long as this is what I would say, pull up your standards for literacy or English language arts. See what the instructions are. Read through the instructions, and say, could I do that in a social studies classroom? If the answer is yes, then you can pursue that because you would have them as an audience. I will also say this. One of our best presenters, Christy Watkins, she's not in, I don't think she's presenting this year. Maybe she is, but she was a curriculum director in one of our districts. And she went through national board at the district level, borrowing classrooms. I think she borrowed a classroom every Friday. She did hers, I think, in literacy. And she went through the entire process in 1 year and certified. So I want to share that with you. I mean, and that's someone I know who has done that recently. She was committed and like, I'm going to do it. It was important to her that she become an MBCT. Had always wanted to, and she wanted her teachers to see her being kind of a lead learner and working with them and their students. So I think every single Friday, for a number of months, she borrowed a classroom. So, Dr. Rogan, I think we can look forward to seeing these 15 individuals, or actually, I guess it'd be 13 individuals, scholarship applications in March of next year. And we'll say
Uh,
online.
how about February? March
Yes.
31st is the deadline, and I'm
Yeah.
sure that fully a third of our applications come in the last day. So,
Last 5 hours.
right.
We I think we had like 150 turned in 5 hours before the deadlines. I've never seen anything like it in my life, and I'm like, you gotta love teachers. That's just how we roll. Any other questions? We'll stay on for just a minute, and if you want to go join a Connection Cafe, or take a break, or pop in quietly in another session, you can certainly do that. Valerie, I see you added all the goodies in there that they
Yep,
needed for attendance.
yep, that's right. Anybody who didn't get an Atlas email, feel free to join that form, put your information in, let us know that you didn't get it, and we'll resend it. It is time sensitive. Your virtual attendance link is in there in the chat for you to do at the end of every single session you go to today. I went ahead and put today's schedule and Zoom links in there just so you have it at your fingertips. And then, of course, just as a reminder, if you've not registered in Power School for today, please make sure you do that. It's very difficult for us to hunt people down because there's so many people that don't have the same name that's in Power School. So that's just a help to us. But if you could do those things for us, that we would greatly appreciate it. And we hope y'all have a wonderful day.
Okay. Thank you.
Dr. Rogan, I'll see you at 3.
All right.
Valerie, will I see you at 3 too?
I will be there.
Okay, I'll see you
I'll be
then.
back with you.
Bye.
Okay, bye, y'all.
Right. Bye.